So React version 18 has been finally released for us as a stable release so we can use it as regular users. And this really awesome new version is bringing a lot of stuff, a lot of features, a lot of new changes, a lot of deprecations into the state of how React works. So in this video, we will go through what is React version 18, what does it bring for us as developers, and also what are the breaking changes or the deprecations you need to look at. So the first and the most important change on the React ecosystem or the whole React library in general is the ReactDOM. So as we all know, the ReactDOM is actually the companion with the React library that allows you to render and attach event listeners and manage the whole DOM and to make like React available and work on the browser itself. So if you go into like the new React DOM in here and you follow, as you see, the React DOM renderer is deprecated and must use the new create work instead of the render method in order to actually benefit from the version 18's features and, you know, get beyond the version 18 and just like actually start using all of those. Because React actually started and basically moved from how React works basically for both server-side rendering and client-side rendering. So you need to move into this and need to move from the deprecated methods in order to make that work. So if we jump off projects in here, as you can see, we got a simple, really easy project in here using the create React app and everything, and it uses some create code, uses some Tailwind, just a small stuff, and of course it's using Typescript. It's not a big of a deal. Now this project currently here uses React version 17, and we want to upgrade from version 17 into actually using the newly built version or React version 18 basically. So first things first, what you need to do is actually install the newly released version. And to do that, make sure to use your package manager. For me, I'm using Yarn. So I'm going to use Yarn in here real quick. So I'm going to do Yarn add and make sure to do React at latest and make sure to use the at latest in here and also dash React-DOM at latest as well. After doing both of these, clicking enter, this will go ahead and resolve the latest versions of React, which is currently version 18.0.0, and it's just going to install them for you. Of course, after this particular installation, everything will be broken. So do not do this in actually big projects or in large scale projects or legacy projects of yours or in production or any of sort of that, because there is so many breaking changes. And like after installing this new version 18, these changes will affect your application and you won't no longer be able to actually use it. And you're going to see a lot of errors. So use this with caution and make sure to carefully actually migrate only small projects and just have a small project to test out with first. All right, the version 18 has been installed. If you go ahead into the package.json, just double check. There you go. We got version 18 on both React and React DOM are installed, and make sure both of these versions are matching. Otherwise, you're going to get in trouble. Awesome. Now, this next thing we want to do in here, we want to do the move out from the React DOM deprecated methods into actually how we can do our own or using the create roots. It's actually pretty simple and just like a couple of lines of code to change. So you need to head over to your index, where you're actually doing the React DOM.render. And in this particular part, what you need to do is actually get rid of this render because now it's deprecated and can no longer be used. So as you see here on the React DOM in here, we are actually importing from the React DOM. Now, first things first, what you need to make sure to do, now React exports a completely different set. So you need to make sure to import from the client, because if you just import from the React DOM, that will just make it use the previous old versions, version 17. So you need to make sure to import from the clients. That will instruct React DOM, oh, I want to use version 18. As you can see in all the box, we're getting render in here is not a method. So I'm going to comment all this thing in here, and I'm no longer going to be using all of those. So I'm going to go ahead and use the create roots. So the create roots, basically, you need to first make sure to get the container. So our container is, I'm going to get the container. I'm going to go get elements by ID, so we can go ahead and get the DOM native container in here, so we can quickly access it. And the next thing in here, you need to use React DOM. So I'm going to do React DOM dot create root, and this is the new function that, you know, the API is talking about, is actually the create root. Now the create root in here, you need to actually provide it or supply it with your container that, you know, is going to act as the root container for your rendering tree. So you just put container in here, and that will actually return const root container. So make sure to save that as well. And here, because I'm using Typescript, whatever, it just asks me to check that. I'm going to just go ahead and force this to be an HTML elements, because sometimes document get elements by ID returns null instead of an HTML element. Okay, awesome. The next thing here you want to do is actually go ahead and use the root container dot render. So you just go ahead and do dot render, and you provide it with the React application or the JSX as you regularly do. So you can go ahead and copy this React.StrictMode and you can quickly go ahead and paste it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the comments real quick, and we just go ahead and save that. And there you go. That's basically what the migration is from the old ReactDOM pipeline or the render method into using the new create routes method. So if you head over into our localhost 3000, where our application is actually hosted, you can easily see, oh, we are actually getting that, and it's actually absolutely working fine. So everything is working fine, there's no errors in the console, and you've done the migration from the deprecated ReactDOM API into using the new create routes API. The second awesome feature about React or version 18 of React is concurrent rendering. Yes, you're here right, now rendering has actually more potential, and React can handle rendering or the GSX rendering of your React tree in a more sophisticated way. So if you look into concurrent rendering, it's not what you actually think at first. It's not like allows, or it's something that allows React to render multiple trees at the same time, but it's something like this, and it gives you more control of how React can render stuff and what are the urgent applied or urgent update that you need to apply to the tree before any other non-urgent stuff that you can't apply currently or something, or you don't actually need to apply currently. So what is actually in here is pretty much, for example, we've seen here, like first there's the pause resume render, so it can allow you to render a different UI component to apply other urgent changes, or maybe differentiate between an urgent change and a non-urgent change, and now React can actually differentiate between both of these. So you can take, for example, an urgent change is something like an input value. So like you can imagine there's a search input, and whenever the user actually types on the keystroke, you can basically go ahead and show them a value, and that's what actually an urgent thing. So you need to immediately show them that value on the input. And a non-urgent thing is more of like displaying the search results. So that's more of how React now can actually concurrently render both of these, and actually can optimize the performance a lot more better. Also, for example, here you can imagine like where React stated on their blog, so you can have particularly a really awesome feature where you can remove a section from a UI and add it back later, so you can actually do a different stuff of manipulations. For example, you can hide a UI when clicking away for browser, and this could be really awesome when it comes to like security concerns or hiding payment details or hiding cryptocurrencies, something of that sort. And it's actually a really awesome way that allows React to control more of like how the rendering pipeline can manage different GSX trees and render different types of parts of the whole UI elements actually. And the third one, and one of the most favorite ones for me personally, is the state update batching. Now, what this one basically allows React is actually to have less re-renders and just batch different set states into a single set state, so you can have a lot more better and smoother experience. Plus the performance is going to boost to a double or triple depending on how many states you're going to have. It's a really awesome technique now, and React can batch multiple states. Now, before React actually batched only on event handlers that are handled by React or the GSX elements. So React right now is actually capable to batch state changes on an event scope. So it's actually more of like versatile compared to how React was working before. It only could batch on version 16 and 17. React only could batch different set states or updates in React's event handlers, or like when I set it on GSX. But right now, all event handlers are benefiting from this particular feature, which can boost it a lot more. So of course, when I'm talking about event handlers, you can just think about it like DOM events, or like DOM event listeners, promises, callbacks, event handlers when fetching the data, and yada. So it's absolutely amazing to have this feature right now, and it's actually a really awesome feature. And also, React right now provides a de facto to get out of this loop. So if you don't want to batch different updates and you just want to have it regularly working the same way, maybe your application when migrating from version 17 to version 18, it couldn't actually work really well with this really awesome new feature of like batching, so you want to change it back. Actually, there is a de facto, or there's an opt-out feature that allows you to opt out of this and go back to the previous one. So for example, here you can imagine this particular example where we have it, an upvote function And this update function gets called whenever you click on this particular button. And there is actually another one which is sentiment. So if the upvotes are greater than 10, you're going to see good. If they are less than 10, you're going to see bad. So you're just going to show your different emojis. That's what it is. So what I'm doing is actually I'm using the new batching feature, because I'm just using this, and this is actually an event handler, and this is actually a GSX event handler. And whenever you click on that, both of these, the set sentiments, either this one or this one, depending on the if statements, and the set number of votes are both going to be batched into a single update rather than calling the set state or updating React twice as it was before. So for example, we got here like console log re-render. Now let's go ahead and see how many times this re-render is going to be called. So if I go to my example, I'm going to click upvote. As you can see, every single time I click on upvote, there is a single re-render. Okay, so clicking upvote, upvote, I'm going to go into 10 and see how it does. It's still actually like always pointing out or console logging one single re-render. That's because React is actually batching it. But on the other hand, if you want to opt out of this particular feature and you want to just like go back to the regular React of how updating stuff, and you don't want to do any batching, you want to just like do this synchronously, you want to update this first, then it's going to like re-render, then you're going to need to update this one next. So you want to queue both of these updates, and you're just going to basically have it working the same way as React 17 and prior to that. So to do this, you can use the flash sync function. So you can import the flash sync from the ReactDOM particularly, not the React library, the ReactDOM particularly. So you can have flash sync, it takes a callback, and it takes whatever state you want to set in here. So this will be called separately, and the second one will be called separately too. So both of these set states in here, or state updates, won't be patched together. So if you go back to our example in here and try to do upvote, as you can see, whenever I click, I get 2 re-renders. Just like clicking, I get 2 re-renders, 2 re-renders, 2 re-renders, and that's actually telling us that it's not doing any batching, and it's calling set state, and it's actually updating the React tree, re-rendering, doing reconciliation 2 times because of this flash sync. And the fourth one is the strict mode, or having a stricter strict mode in React version 18. Now, what I mean by the strict mode, so for example, if you're having if you're using basically a function that is going to be deprecated, it's just going to warn you saying, oh, you can't use this particular function because it's deprecated, or something like this. It just allows you to apply different patterns and best practices to make use of this on your React application. Now, on React version 18, it got this stricter thing, and now what it tells you is actually it will only throw errors in development mode. So if you use strict mode in production, it doesn't really matter, it's just meant for development. And the React now, for the structure mode, it will be like automatically in mounting and remounting components, so you could actually check if the component can preserve state. And why is that particularly? Because this will be useful for upcoming React features to prepare and actually allow React 18 and allow this migration to benefit from these new features. So to simply enable strict mode, you need to go ahead into your tree in here, and you need to surround your React application with strict mode. So you just do React.StrictMode and React.StrictMode, and that is it. Now, if you go back in here, as you can see, I'm doing the re-rendering, and I'm no longer using the flash sync, so I'm doing the batching in here. So the expectations, there will be only a single re-render, but remember, we're using stricter mode, or the strictier strict mode, and this particularly what we does actually is going to re-render your components particularly a couple of times to make sure they work. So as soon as you add stricter mode, you're going to have some warnings in here set before, because that's what React is actually telling you to do, or to use best practices of React, whatever. So I'm going to completely ignore this. And if we try to do upvote, it's clear to see every single time I get 2, but this time this one is bold and this one is more of like a grayish kind of color, because this is coming from the React DevTools, and this is actually being outputted from actually the strict mode. And the 2 last ones is the SSR Suspense streaming support. And what does that mean? And if you're not familiar with Suspense, it's basically to tell React to wait for different data to be available, and just to have a fallback UI like a spinner or a loading bar before that is actually available. Maybe an import, maybe something like this. And it's mostly used for code splitting. And now what actually provides or actually support is actually Suspense streaming. So it allows you to do a server-side rendering experience with streaming from, for example, a Node.js server into a React application, and you can have these chunks actually exchange or or transmitted throughout this streaming server, and they can be transmitted as soon as they are available. And the last bummer for you guys, actually Internet Explorer is no longer supported, and this is hallelujah for me because I never used or liked Internet Explorer, and I know a lot of you never did that, but there are some applications out there that still actually use Internet Explorer or support Internet Explorer. So if you still need Internet Explorer support and you still need your React application to work on Internet Explorer, do not upgrade to version 18 and stay on version 17. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this particular walkthrough React's version 18 features and what changed and how to do migrations. So thank you guys for watching, as I said before, and catch you hopefully in the next ones.